The marble floors gleamed like mirrors beneath the golden glow of the chandelier, reflecting the polished shoes of wealthy travelers who passed through the grand hotel lobby. Laughter and chatter filled the air as men in tailored suits and women in elegant dresses glided toward the reception desk. In the middle of this glittering world, two figures looked painfully out of place. An older man with sun-athered skin, his hat worn and frayed, clutched a battered leather suitcase in one hand. Beside him stood a frail woman wrapped in a faded scarf, her coat thin against the morning chill, her eyes weary from a lifetime of hardship. They stood there uncertainly, as if the ground beneath their feet did not belong to them. Yet something in the man's upright posture showed dignity that time and poverty had not broken. Before they could even open their mouths, the manager, a tall man with slick back hair and a sharp gray suit, leaned forward over the desk, smirking. His voice carried across the lobby, mocking them loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, "Pay for the cheap room, and leave quickly. People like you don't belong here." The sound of his laughter, joined by a few giggles from the reception staff behind him, cut through the air like a cruel knife. The woman lowered her head, clutching her bag closer, her shoulders trembling with shame. But the men did not flinch. His gaze, firm and unyielding, locked onto the manager. And for a moment, silence fell over those who noticed the scene. Friends, before we go deeper into this story, I want to pause and ask you if you believe in kindness, in giving people second chances, and in standing up for what's right. Then please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, Kindness Corner, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. Your support helps us keep spreading these powerful stories of compassion. The old farmer, whose name was Elias, had lived a life of backbreaking labor in the fields. From sunrise to sunset, his hands turned soil, planted seeds, and harvested crops that fed entire towns. Yet in the city, his patched shirt and worn shoes made him invisible, or worse, a target of ridicule. His wife, Ruth, had stood by his side for decades, raising children, enduring storms, and cooking meals from the little they had. Now, after selling what remained of their modest farm, they had come to the city hotel not out of luxury but necessity, waiting for a medical appointment that could not be missed. They needed shelter for one night, nothing more. But to the hotel staff, their presence was laughable, as if poverty stripped them of their right to dignity. The humiliation burned deep. Other guests turned to watch, some sneering, others pitying. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. Yet Elias gently placed his hand over hers, steadying her. He did not shout. He did not beg. Instead, with a voice that carried a weight of calm authority born from years of quiet endurance, he said, "Son, I came here not to beg for what I cannot pay. I came here to rest after giving more than 50 years of my life to feed people like you. This suitcase you mock held my tools, the same tools that tilled the earth, so the children in this city would not go hungry." His words, spoken slowly, were not angry, but they echoed with truth that stilled the laughter around him. The lobby quieted, conversations halted, and the tapping of shoes faded. For the first time, the smirk slipped from the manager's face, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. Elias stood firm, his wife beside him, her gaze now lifted, emboldened by the strength in his tone. He continued, "I may wear worn clothes, but each wrinkle on the shirt was earned with honest work. Each scar on my hands is a story of survival. And if paying for the cheap room is the only way you see me, then remember this. Cheap doesn't mean worthless. I have lived a life richer than these walls could ever contain." A hush swept over the lobby. A woman in a blue blazer behind the desk bit her lip, her smile fading into discomfort. A guest waiting nearby shifted uneasily, suddenly ashamed of the laughter they had shared moments earlier. The weight of Elias's words pressed into the marble hall, leaving no one untouched. Ruth, still holding tightly to her husband's arm, whispered softly, "Elias, maybe we should just go." But he shook his head gently. His eyes never left the manager. "No, Ruth, people like us have been silenced too many times. Today, they will hear." The manager cleared his throat, his arrogance faltering. "Well, rules are rules," he stammered, but his tone lacked the confidence of before. Elias opened his suitcase and pulled out an old leather-bound ledger. He set it on the desk with surprising force, the sound echoing across the polished marble. Inside were receipts and notes of decades of produce sold to markets, to restaurants, even to this very hotel's kitchens. "For years, my farm supplied the food that filled your banquets. These fruits, these grains, these vegetables, you served them to wealthy guests under chandeliers like these. And now you mock the very hands that fed you." The realization sank in like a stone dropped into water. The staff exchanged glances, guilt spreading across their faces. Guests in the lobby lowered their heads, some whispering apologies under their breath. One elderly woman sitting nearby clapped softly. Then a man followed, and soon the lobby filled with the sound of scattered applause. Hesitant at first, but growing stronger, the manager's face turned red, not from anger, but from shame he could no longer hide. Ruth squeezed Elias's hand, her eyes glistening, not from humiliation this time, but from pride. The same men who had bent his back to plow fields now stood tall, reminding everyone that dignity cannot be measured by wealth. The applause swelled, filling the hall until it drowned out the hollow laughter that had once cut through them. With trembling lips, the manager finally muttered, "Sir, I apologize. Please take the suite, no charge." His words were swallowed by the roar of approval from the bystanders. But Elias simply shook his head. "We did not come here for charity. We only ask for what we can pay for, nothing more, nothing less." His refusal struck deeper than any anger could. He had not only silenced the mockery, but turned it into a lesson in humility for all who witnessed it. As the couple was finally given their room keys, Ruth leaned on her husband's arm, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The world had tried to strip them of their worth, but Elias had shown that true wealth was not counted in coins or suits, but in the strength to stand tall when others sought to make you small. The lobby, once filled with mocking laughter, was left in stunned silence and quiet admiration as the farmer and his wife walked toward the elevators, their dignity intact. If this story touched your heart, friends, please don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every click helps us spread more stories of courage, love, and compassion to the world. And before we close, I want to ask you something special. What would you have done if you were standing in that hotel lobby witnessing this moment? Please share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Because sometimes the poorest hands carry the richest hearts, and sometimes a single reply can silence an entire room.